Hello and welcome to the latest from the Terrace Scottish Football Podcast. My name is Joel Sked and I'm delighted to be joined by Tony Anderson.
Hi Joel, you alright mate?
Yeah, good.
Late night last night?
Yeah, good as I can be in the circumstances. The view from the terrace comes back and Hearts start losing. Who'd have thunk it?
And I'm on Wednesday, so I was very excited to see that because I'm on with Robert Borthwick, and obviously with Hearts doing so well and Hibs doing so terribly, I didn't want him getting accused of bullying again. So, thankfully we won't have to go through that now. But I've got a spot on my lip for those who are watching online. So that's a worry for going back on the TV. Yeah. Maddie's got a work cut out. But maybe that'll take people stopping looking at my double chin or my belly. Who knows? So it could be all over now.
For God, there's like, why is Tony acting like it's COVID again? Why has he got a face mask on?
And other bad news, my wife is away on placement, Joel. In about an hour, she's going to Ayr for the entire week. 5 days. Did that left to fend for myself for the entire week, which isn't great. It isn't great. I'm nervous about the whole thing, but we'll survive. I made some food today before to make meals aside, because otherwise I just won't do anything. So I made some stuff up. I'm all set up for the week, and I've got a view from the terrace, so I'll do that, and I'll probably end up going for pints with Rob and Telfer after. But she'll be back till Friday night, man. Oof.
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice having the house to yourself, but maybe just for like a night or two.
Yeah.
Not the whole week.
5 nights. Yeah, I'll get lonely.
Yeah. To be fair, in my household, I usually do most of the cooking. I'll do the hoovering and I'll do the dishes, and then she does all the DIY stuff. So it's a real balanced. It's a real balanced household.
Absolutely, my wife definitely does a DIY in my house. Yeah. I do cleaning, but she definitely does the DIY because as people may have noticed over the years, I'm fucking useless. So
that's always my say. Can't we just pay someone to do it?
Yeah, I'd be like my attitude about everything. I would have a clean up if it was up to me.
Yeah. All right, let's get into the action. Where were we going to start with first? Of course, the Dundee derby, the derby that always delivers. Dundee United were winning 2-0. They looked like they were going to win comfortably 2-0, and then Dundee came back, scoring twice in stoppage time, one of which was a lovely own goal from Graham, Dundee United centre-back. Tony, I can't remember who on Premier Sports said something along the lines of, like, did you see this coming? You didn't see that coming? No one saw that coming because Dundee were awful.
Oh, especially. I mean, just before we logged on, I watched the interviews after the game, and Presley said after maybe half an hour, he was happy with Dundee's performance, and then after that, he said they were just a shadow of their former selves. And yeah, he was absolutely spot on. Dundee United took so much control of that game. It was quite scary because obviously we were thinking this would be like, and maybe it has been in the end, but you thought this was going to be the strange case of Stephen Presley maybe putting like almost the final nail in Jim Goodwin's coffin.
Yep.
And which you would never have guessed with where both managers were at the start of the season. But yeah, Dundee, I was pretty impressed. It's the most impressed I've been with Dundee United for weeks, well, maybe months. Actually, I thought their deliveries were spot on. Thought the long throws were spot on. From wide, we're having Stevenson and Ferry in there. But unfortunately for Ross Graham, he will now have a derby named after him, which sometimes is one of the most positive things that can happen. But this time it'll be really, really negative because his tackle that led to that equalising goal was abysmal as well. To give Dundee the chance to load the box, and then he delivered just by nodding it into the corner as well.
Yeah, it was. I watched the game kind of with like a dual focus in that I was expecting a lot from Dundee. I was expecting, as you said, about the opportunity it felt like a bigger game for Dundee United, and a bigger game for Jim Goodwin than it did like Dundee and Stephen Presley. But it also acted as an opportunity for Dundee to really felt like kick on, and this was it would be like a statement result performance for the direction that they're heading under Stephen Presley. And I think at times they were, in the first half, they were threatening. Yogain was getting some good joy down the left-hand side. They were getting the ball in the box and putting United under a bit of pressure. And then on the flip side, I was looking at United in terms of the Falkirk game, which we talked about last week, and that they played the system that they played, and like they just, especially first half, kind of got against Falkirk, got overran in midfield. And then I wanted to see how they reacted to that, and I was really impressed with the midfield duo, especially Ajay, I think is if you pronounce it correctly.
Yeah.
And so I was really impressed with him. And I was
that was a big call, because obviously he dropped Kamara to play him.
Yeah, absolutely. And he was I think the only time I think he made a mistake was when him and potentially Ross Graham. Ross Graham went for a header and Ajay went for a header, and obviously wasn't listening to the shout. And then the two wing backs, especially like Ferry, and you always wonder, we talked about this last week about playing a back three and going up against wingers and it can become a back five. I thought the wing backs were absolutely brilliant for United. Yeah. And Congreve, I can barely remember Congreve like kind of being involved. Yogain had that spell in the first half, but I just felt that United really did have it just went a quite relatively even start. United just grew, and Dundee, just ran out of ideas and were so predictable.
Yeah, because I thought, like, when as you mentioned with Yogain, he got Yovu, when he got him one-on-one a few times, you were like, I just focus on doing that. I would just if I was Dundee, because there was twice where he just went by and come by him like he wasn't there, and you would catch that. But you could see the difference later on in the game, because Yovu started pressing up on Yogain into his own half. I saw that twice, where he won the ball really, really high up on Yogain, because obviously the attitude of Dundee United's team, they grew in confidence as the game went on. And the game started with, so McCracken, I thought, had another brilliant game in terms of his shot stop, and he made loads of good saves from, I think Fata. He made a couple for Fata, one for Savage, and possibly and then one right at the end from Johnny Russell. So that's him had a few good weeks, because he was also brilliant against Motherwell last week. But even at the very start, I thought he was going to waste it, because Ferry put in a really long throw in the first minute of the game, and McCracken got caught under it right away, and Luke Graham had to clear it like basically to an empty goal that came in. But another feature of the game that, as I said with McCracken, his kicking was terrible. He had a very, very Craig Cordon game where he was making sort of amazing saves, but then with his feet just inviting pressure onto him, because he's kicking wide. Also, especially when you're playing into that type of wind. Yeah. I found it really weird that they were going so long, Dundee. It seemed like something that they decided to do more so than other games, even though they were playing against a team playing a back three, who would probably much prefer to just deal with long balls over the top of them, rather than getting out to your, like we're saying, to their wingers, which would also press the main attacking outlets for Dundee United back. So I really feel with Presley and Dundee in general, it didn't really make sense the way that they were approaching the game.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was like Gary was like screaming for Hay to come on and just be more of a nuisance in the attacking, give them a bit more of the central presence, forward presence. Because again, Simon Murray, I don't think he's had a brilliant season, and he always puts in the experience, puts in the effort, but I just think, see if like they had Simon Murray of last season and this team, they could be having a really, really good season, which leads on to Simon Murray. I think we were both in agreement at the concession of the penalty. It was, in my view, very, very harsh.
I just hate that. I hate it. I said it loads of the time, and it probably sounds really rudimentary, the kind of thing I say, because I'm not big on rules and all that type of stuff when I watch my football. But I knew that. We used to know that wasn't a penalty. We just knew. They used to be with the handball. They'd been so desperate to create a black and white version with something that's nearly impossible to do that with, and that's because of VAR. They wanted to make it easier for people to make a decision on something like handball, because if you've got the technology, you want to be able to make these clear decisions, which has always been the issue from day one, is trying to make a game that actually has loads of grey areas in it, and trying to use technology to sort of beat those grey areas. It's never really going to happen. But yeah, I just think he's moving to the right, because I don't even think he expects the ball to get played out there. It's like a poor pass. And the way he moves his body, you can see it. His right arm's only just up from his knee, because that's naturally how you move when you do that, and then it hits off his arm. But the question would always be like, why? I thought like intent would be making yourself bigger and all that. Intent is meant to be a part of it, and like, of course, he's not trying to block the ball going out absolutely nowhere. It would be like one of the stupidest handballs to give away as a player. So for me, I just thought it was a natural movement to the ball. It's going nowhere. And then I saw just the referee making something out of nothing, really.
That's a big thing. It's like, it's one of those where if the referee didn't give anything, everyone just moved on with their lives. No one would be over. Only the most boring of the opposite of you, someone who is really particular in the rules. Like, oh, actually, I think you'll find that is a penalty. But I just felt it was like it just felt like it was just a natural thing, and this is where you're getting to how you view the handball. See, if he was standing in front of the goal and the ball was going to go in the back of the net, handball, because he's prevented the goal. But he's literally just got his hands in a normal position, and this is where it's like I said, it's so difficult to be black and white, because you put that in a different situation. You put what happened in a different situation, i.e., someone maybe shooting towards goal. You can can understand the referee going for a penalty, but in that situation where I just think his hands in a natural position, and he gets given. They score it through Fata. I thought Fata was really good. I thought it was really positive.
And like he was, when I mentioned McCracken earlier, they were having their own sort of duel. I think he made about 4 saves. Fafata, it's his cross in the first half that he creates a few brilliant chances from just hanging balls up at the back post, and his decision making was really good in this, which is maybe something that's been levelled at Fata, because obviously you can see he's got talent. He's been a very fun player, a player that I like. It's a kind of player that obviously like shades like Eli Yuan and players like that, and then players that you like, but for some people, because maybe not tactically astute, and as I was talking about, like they maybe don't fit in a shape as well, that you don't want to use them. But you're like, well, this guy's fucking got skills and he can dribble past people. He can make something happen, and he was a major part of what was good about Dundee United and the game. So yeah, I was chuffed for him, because he's a player that's had a pretty bonkers season, really. If you look over it, like that game at Tynecastle he had earlier in the year, like it was like where he'd done that mad free kick and diving and scoring. He was just an absolute wild. But that's what we want, man. He's good. He's so entertaining to watch.
And just before we finish up with the scenes at the end, the second Dundee United goal was brilliant from Ferry's cross. I know you could point to stopping the inability to stop the cross or put pressure on the ball, but the cross was excellent. But Lucas Stevenson, his desire to get on the end of it at the back post was absolutely brilliant. And just did say this in the group chat, but just like love seeing full back in that situation just get bundled over because they've just been beaten by a really aggressive, in this case, a wing back.
Crashing in, and the ball crashes in off the bar. Yeah.
Off the bar, yeah.
It's a really satisfying goal. And like I said at the top of this segment, the deliveries from wide for Dundee United were the main thing, be that from Stevenson, Ferry, or Fata over the course of the game. And I get playing in that shape with those two wing backs and still playing Fata, not as a winger, probably suits him more as well, because it means he doesn't have quite as much defensive if he was playing in a sort of wide role and a 3 up front. So I think that does suit him a lot more and allows them to use him more, just going around the pitch to collect the ball. And yeah, the two of them, long throws, crosses all the time. We're asking tons of questions of Luke Graham and Dundee for the whole game. And yeah, at that point, it was like they just brought Kamara on the nice pitch. And I actually was thinking that Dundee United were going to score more. Someone who didn't have a good game for Dundee United out of that, and that sort of 3-4-3, that Fruzia, hopeless.
Some of the guff that they've gone through with this year. I mean, you can say the same about every single team in the Scottish Premiership. And some of the guff they've signed is, he was not great. You mentioned John McCracken and his saves, and you mentioned the one from Johnny Russell came on and made that. That turned out to be a really, really big save. Dundee went and scored 2. First one was from Hay, and then Ross Graham obviously with the second one. Just finishing up on the second, kind of finishing up on United, kind of 2-part question. One, how idiotic was Ross Graham in that final 60 seconds? And secondly, what does this do for Jim Goodwin and United in the manner of chucking it?
It's the head loss for Ross Graham and the sort of pressure cooker of that when you're centre of the back three and arguably the leader of that, because obviously a lot of the defenders that Dundee United have used this season, I mean, Jovu, Esselink, they've just not been good, have they?
Says.
Yeah, Gresses is maybe slightly better than the other two, but they've not been guys you can hang your hat on. And it's like, and also like a Scottish guy playing in a Dundee derby, he's meant to know it, he gets it, all that shite that people come out with all the time, and he's the one who loses his head and after the goal and give it the foul he makes is ridiculous.
Stupid,
because that's all they want. That's all Dundee want. You've got 1 minute. The referees basically said we're going to give an extra minute on top of the 5 because of the fact that they scored the goal. All you want is a free kick. You just want a free kick to load the box. You know that's the only way that you're going to make it a reality, that you're going to get the goal. And he just give them it. Like, there you go, have that.
Even Hamilton obviously came steaming in and was like remonstrating with him. I don't think he deserved the yellow card, but then Ross Graham went back and he was kind of mouthing off, and he had like a smug look on his face, and he was pointing to something else that happened further up the pitch. And then it was just like, it just wasn't the correct attitude for that situation. And then it's just to give your rivals one more opportunity to chuck in the box. Like you said, that's the only thing they wanted. And then the fact that his header was lovely. I mean, it was a glance header in the top corner. No one was really around him. He did have to deal with it, because if he left it the way the arc of the cross was probably going in the back of the net. And the other thing I liked from was John McCracken wheeled away as if he had scored it, which was really nice.
Because he went on the pitch and then Graham does the pathetic kick of the post after when he's angry, but he also doesn't want to hurt his foot. So he only does it a little bit. But yeah, that is, and in terms of with Goodwin, he needed that so much. He needed that win so much, and for them to lose it in that fashion, where it's like clown school losing it in that fashion. We've all I've certainly been there in the Hibs, and I mean our hearts are like when you lose 2 goals at the end to draw a game. It's almost worse than losing just 1-0. I actually think it is. If Hearts were to score and after half an hour and it finished 1-0, Hibs tried to get a goal at the end, it never happened. I would almost prefer that than being 2-0 up and like Hearts scoring 2 goals in the last 5 minutes. It feels minging. And now, when they've already been questions of him, they already seem to be falling out of love with him. He's been there for 3 years as well, so like familiarity breeds contempt as well. Yeah, it feels like that's going to be really hard to come back from, and he just like, it just sums up our season and stuff like that. After is what Goodwin said. It kind of like, it's just the way it is, bad luck type of stuff. I know how to stop it. I've seen the issues. I know where the weak links are. And they say, well, fucking do something then. Stop it, because you don't seem to be doing that. Because it happened at Easter Road literally about a month ago, and it's happened again. So this isn't something new and fresh that they've done. So I think we are getting to the stage where they might just move on from Goodwin at the end of the season, because if you've got, I think a big thing always happens here when the season ticket sales come back out, and if they start really slowly, and I think stuff like that can have a say in how a board reacts at the end of the season.
Aside from that, an incredibly handsome man and incredibly well-dressed man.
Mm-hmm.
Before we get into talking about the title race and the 3 teams involved in that title race, we'll go in order of how they played. A message from our sponsor, which are NordVPN. If you're interested in signing up for NordVPN, you can do so with a free 30-day money-back guarantee by going to nordvpn.com/terracepod. It can be used for watching TV, football abroad. It can get around the government ID restrictions, and it takes online security very seriously, so you're not hacked or have your details stolen. I am going abroad next week, and that means I'll be out of the country for the Scotland games. However, I will be using my NordVPN to ensure that I don't miss out on Scotland friendlies. Who would want to miss out on seeing those?
Yeah. It's funny. They're getting a position now, the Scotland friendlies, because we're going to a World Cup, that people are really bothered about them. And I've seen people talking about the squads. And I think people but I suppose it does matter, but it's always a bit weird because we'd hardly get any friendlies anymore because of the Nations League, which has been a positive part of it. So it's funny seeing them come back, and it's now funny that they are a bit serious because people are going to try and earn, and we need to try and obviously build some momentum going into it. But
the opposition is quite it's like a novelty. Is it Japan and Ivory Coast, isn't it?
Yeah.
Aye, so it's something a bit different. So if you're interested in signing up for NordVPN, you can do so with a free 30-day money-back guarantee by going to nordvpn.com/terracepod. For the third time, that's nordvpn.com/terracepod for a free 30-day money-back guarantee.
Did you hear that the Arsenal one a few weeks back? The guy doing his VPN on that.
Yeah, did you that? Was that on Clear? They had on cliches.
On football cliches. That was so good. So if you want your protection, which I think you should buy if you want, but don't ask me. It's absolutely phenomenal because he was raging about Arsenal, then obviously just realised late that he had to do it. So they just went into it, threatening everyone about getting it. Good, very good.
I should have channeled that energy with the Hearts game coming up. But we will go to Celtic Park first, where Celtic defeated Motherwell 3-1. It was again a very big weekend in the Scottish Premiership title race. It was a last opportunity for Motherwell to kind of cling on to any hopes of a potential outside chance of winning the title. However, Celtic came from behind to win 3-1 with Longello for Motherwell being sent off. On Celtic, Tony, again, they weren't convincing, but it was a massive result and another indication of them just finding ways to win. Whether it's leaving it late in games, whether it's coming from behind, just finding ways to win and stay within touching distance or breathe down the neck of Hearts.
Yeah, and I think this one is a big result because while obviously it wasn't fully convincing, Motherwell are good, and you obviously fancied them to, I wasn't surprised at all. It says a lot about Motherwell when I saw that, for large first half, they had 60% possession at Parkhead, and I know they lost, but we've grown up with Scottish football. We know that just doesn't happen. So to see a team go and be able to sort of take the game to Celtic and have the ball off them for long periods still says a lot. But for Celtic, this is a game they could have lost. Obviously, they got beat off Hibs recently. They've had their first wobble under O'Neill over the two O'Neill spells, if you like. They had that first wobble recently, so I think this was a massive win for them. Obviously, they're missing so many players now, but I honestly don't. I think a big part of this is obviously Motherwell made careless again. Obviously, the style of play that they've had. They were careless at the start with it, as you expected, but then they managed to come out of that. But the last few weeks, they've started to look more and more careless again with their style of play. But I don't think it's much of a surprise that Celtic are starting to feel much more stable, that they've finally went with Sinisalo as a goalkeeper rather than Schmeichel. I don't think it's a coincidence at all. Sinisalo played last season as well for long periods, and he was pretty good. And again this season, he looks he's not the easiest on the eye goalkeeper, but he doesn't make a lot of errors. He seems to have decent concentration levels. Honestly, it just feels absolutely bonkers that it took so long for Celtic to punish Kasper Schmeichel, who was being so shit. It's that proper football man stuff. I really do believe it. With Joe Hart, they've done the same with him, and it's just because they've got big profiles and they're probably really big characters in the dressing room. They're well-known figures. They've played at really high levels that it takes you so much longer to accept that these guys deserve to be dropped, and they're having a massive impact on your ability to move forward in the season.
Yes, I think it was. I mean, they left it far too long with Schmeichel. He was becoming a massive hindrance, and just save shots, just dive, just act like a normal goalkeeper. I just the tail off was kind of not remarkable, because I think he saw signs. I think he even saw signs last season that it was becoming it was becoming a bit of a what's it say?
Liability.
A liability, that's the word I was looking for. The only thing I would say from Saturday is that Sinisalo, I actually think he has to take some of the blame within the opening goal for Motherwell. It was Rio Hatate who got his pocket picked right on the edge of the box. However, I just think when the ball went to Sinisalo, it's one of those where you have to, and this is if you're a top footballer, you're the ability to make decisions quickly and assess the risk that you see that takes you to the next level. And I just don't think he assessed the risk that he saw when the ball went back to him, and he played into Hatate rather than just going, you know what, put the foot through it. But again, if that's what he's been told to do, and you see that where managers I'd rather they make mistake doing that rather than playing the way we want to, rather than going long and being safety first. However, with Martin O'Neill, I don't think he cares about that identity side of things. I think it's the opposite.
Yeah.
If Motherwell did it, and Askew would probably be fine. Yeah, that's how I told him to play. But if Martin O'Neill, I think he is much more risk averse, and he probably would have preferred Sinisalo to knock it long. But again, I do think, and I'm not going to get down the road of this is what Celtic are doing is incredible, because it's not they've created their own problems. They have spent, well, they might have not spent nearly as much money as fans would have wanted to, or they should have this season. They're still a side that have spent a lot of money over the piece, and also on wages on players. They're spending lots of money. However, the character they show just to continue coming back. Celtic Park, I think, we got really antsy, especially the first half where there was boos and there was a lot of pressure. Whereas they stuck with it. They were helped by Motherwell and some of the decisions they were making. But there's just this. It's fine. It's hard. I don't think there's much to say about Celtic in terms of specific things that they do.
Their
but
development as a team or whatever like that. Yeah.
They just do this. They have this ability. Individually, before we get to Motherwell, Yang was fantastic. Again, someone who who's come on this season. I think it was because the situation they've been in, they've been more asked of him, and he is one who has really stepped up when maybe others haven't, and he's got that pace. He's got the ability to score a goal. He gets into really good goals. He gets into number 9 positions, which is really impressive.
Really handy, but they don't really have a number 9. Or one that's worth having. Yeah.
And I think it's really handy for Celtic, especially to have wingers who are able to do that, where they can become another striker and get goals, especially if the ball's on the other side.
Imagine they'd sold him in January, which looked like was very much on the cards to Birmingham. That now would have looked like a pretty mental decision. They would have been caught them off the foot. To go back to the goals, obviously we all know he's having such an amazing season. It's a brilliant finish. That it's really hard. It's not like an amazing chance. He has to come across the ball and it's in the near post and it's a good finish. And then going and talk about Motherwell and their gifting of their goal. I mean, that's going to happen the way they play. There really was no need for it, because Said was moving down the wing. The pass was really on, which is surely what you want to do. If you're a team that wants to play the ball and invite the press, the second there's a way out into space, that's when you're meant to take it. So I thought that decision was really weird, but where Sparrow makes quite a lot of mistakes. Yeah. He looks like maybe one of the weak links in the team, really.
What do you make of Said? Sparrow just undersells his pass, but Said he looks like he can be quite a fun player at times, but the more I've seen, when I've watched Motherwell, he's more of I don't really see it. I don't really see it in him. I just think he's quite a frustrating player. He commits lots of niggly foul. There's lots of games where I think, he's going to get subbed because he's either keeps losing the ball or he keeps making fouls.
And he does daft stuff when he jumped up against Hibs when they were beating Hibs, when he just ran with the ball and he just left it and jumped. So
that's fine. I'm happy to see that.
Yeah. The thing is, I've been quite surprised how much he's been used, because you would, like, from what you're saying, and Askew being like a big systems guy, and Askew clearly wasn't, when I gave that example about Said, he clearly wasn't happy about him doing that. You know, the daft jump in, maybe like patting opposition on the head when you're doing well and taking the piss. So it's maybe been a bit weird seeing him sort of like have quite so much minutes. You really, it doesn't look like a player that Askew would have wanted, but he sort of battles his way into it, and he plays wide. He maybe stretches, he keeps the system, and maybe it's just about the number of players that they have that allows them to keep going. But he's off the wall, and yeah, they're lacking. They're lacking. So I'm never going to be overly against these players. First time Motherwell had been behind by 2 goals this season. Couldn't believe it.
Really?
Yeah, found that a mad stat.
What did you make of the penalty decision, the red card decision? I don't think this one of those. I don't think there could be much complaints about the penalty decision. Longello gets himself in a right mess and commits it. Red card though, I don't think I've ever seen a red card for such a situation.
He's going to score though. He doesn't stop, so he doesn't try to play the ball, and he stops a clear goal scoring opportunity.
Yeah.
So that I don't think the ref has any choice, especially with VAR. They're able to actually see the fact that Maeda's got an open goal to head it into, and Longello's not looking at the ball, so he certainly can't be playing the ball when he grabs it down, because he just gets some. It's not that, it's just that he gets some. Those ones, they always look a bit different because you get yourself in a mess, and a lot of the time it's not a deliberate thing. It's because you realise you've lost your man in that second. So it's not that you're deliberate you're trying to block them off so you can get yourself back into your position. So it's not like when you make a egregious tackle that's mental and you just clear them out, clearly not trying to play the ball. You've got yourself in a fangle, and it's, even though it is deliberate, it's not. You're just trying to like fix yourself and get yourself back in. But in the letter of the law, I would guess that he stopped the clear goal score opportunity deliberately and he wasn't trying to play the ball. So that's a red card.
It's just strange. I didn't hear the term dogso yesterday when.
Well, thank God.
Really is, thank goodness. I'll come back to Celtic once we've talked about the 2 other games and bring Celtic back into it. But just finally on Motherwell, it just feels like the last week has been a big missed opportunity for them, just the way the results have gone, that if they were able to beat Dundee up at Dens Park and then carry that into Celtic Park, it just felt like this week was such a big opportunity for them to really put themselves in amongst the title race, which they just didn't take.
Yeah, and just, it was all, we said this last week with Motherwell, they just, because of the start, and it's not their fault, it was always going to take time for the manager to do it. It's just, it was 2 games too many and at the start for them to draw the first 5, not winning the first 8. If they had 6 more points from that, it would allow them a moment like Dundee last week. You could afford to lose a match or 2 in a row, and they were never. So the reality was, unless they were like imperious and won all these games, it was always going to be a step too far. The sad thing that might be for them, though, is that they might really lose out on an opportunity to do something special, which is like finish above one of the Old Firm. And no matter what, you can say what you like about how poor the Old Firm are, and they certainly are, that's allowing teams to do that. For Motherwell to do that with really not much resources, being fan-owned as well, without any backer, going for a left field manager, that they're doing it would have all been very organic for them to do it. It would have been a crazy sort of achievement for them, even if it was just finishing 3rd and Rangers or Celtic finishing 4th.
Yeah.
So I think it'll be a shame for them to do that. I'm annoyed that Hibs didn't get the win. We'll come to that later, but I really fancy the idea of getting 4 points behind them and going to Fir Park next week, winning a game jammily, and somehow Hibs, who've been taking all sorts of abuse this season from their own fans, may I add, somehow managing to finish above the media darlings and the team bastard. That was fine. I was thinking maybe something I can enjoy this season, but unfortunately no.
You never know, 6 points in it. There's
who knows if we can get the win next week. I'm jumping between going and not going, but I'm more thinking about it. I was like, maybe will, because after that if we could get to that, then you could go for Europe if you like, without needing the Celtic to win the league, win the cup, because that's definitely not a guarantee. Like something could happen there.
Yeah,
like Falkirk could beat them in a cup final. I could definitely see it happening. So you don't want to hang your hat on that. So maybe something to be had next week to like the last thing that, like the last game where I can go to where something that might matter for Hibs, apart from obviously beating Hearts and stopping something that really does matter to me.
In terms of Hearts are doing their own job of stopping that. They lost 1-0 to Kilmarnock on Saturday night. Tony would have watched this on TV and enjoyed it. I certainly didn't enjoy it. Hearts were stinking. What was your general assessment of the game? We'll start with Hearts.
I thought Hearts were absolutely terrible. It's the worst I've seen. I've seen Hearts play badly a few times. If I'll be honest, I don't think that's I don't think that's like a Hibby bastard thing to say or anything like that. Like Hearts have ground out a fair amount of games this season. It's just the reality. But to see like guys like Milne not hitting a level performance, I've not seen that before. Because Milne's been like, you can rely on him 100%. I thought he had like a stinker. I thought Spittle really struggled. That whole left-hand side, whoever came on, it was involved, be it like McEntee, Spittle, Milne, whoever was out there, like that they got absolutely no change out there. Thought Watson done really well. Kilmarnock done really well in shutting down that side. They obviously thought about it that way, that Milne on that side. Steinwinder obviously isn't going to be much of an attacking threat on that side, so I think they focused on trying to shut down the left side, which they done very well, and that's really good from McCann. And Steinwinder, again, see when he makes mistakes like that lead to the goal, doesn't look good for McInnes, because there's a reason he's playing for only one reason. It's for stability and to allow Hearts to play Kiziridis in front of him, and basically it's like, well, we're going to play a proper defender who only wants to do that one thing to allow us to have a wide player who doesn't do much going the other way, and because he's so good at creating chances, that's what we're going to do it. So when Steinwinder falls asleep and switches off and stuff, you're like, that's really not good enough, man.
So yeah, this has been a real aspect that's frustrated Hearts fans, and tried to just be like see both Craig and I have tried to see both sides of it. And Steinbender, I don't think he's been as bad as some fans have made out. Me personally, I would like to see Altena there, just because I think he is. I think he's really positive. We saw that when he came on the pitch, that for the bit he played at right back before being shifted in field, that he's really positive with the ball and he looks to play forward. He had a lovely pass into Leonard. However, there is question marks about him defensively, so I can understand why McInnes prefers Steinbender.
Oh yeah, I get it, but that's when Steinbender makes a mistake though, and he's made a couple.
But
that's
so what shouldn't he get? So I think he makes a mistake, but I don't think it's. He makes a mistake, but I don't think it's his mistake. So basically, he's been tasked with following Curtis. So he stayed out wide for Curtis, and this is the Hearts didn't get their right hand side right in the first half, because Kiziridis, who's actually done quite well defensively, was all over the place because Sean Larson was just bombing, rampaging up down the left, and he was trying to follow him. He did it, and then there was like underlaps, there was overlaps. He didn't really know where to follow, and for the goal, Steinbender, like McInnes likes going man for man. So Steinbender was essentially with Curtis, and then Kiziridis was following Sean and Larson. Larson went in field. Kiziridis looks over his left shoulder and sees him running at the box, or sees him, and then he doesn't look at him again, he's into the box. However, Steinbender, who is outside and seeing this happen, as a defender, should go, I need to get in there. There's no danger. There's no danger from Curtis, so I should get in. I get goal side to Sean and Larson and stop him.
And that's the point. Like, maybe the idea, I can see where you're coming from about being harsh on Steinwinder, but again, the only reason you're in the team is to try and switch
on those things.
Well, is to make up for Kiziridis. It allows you to play Kiziridis and two strikers. That's the reason. Yeah. That's the reason he's in the team. He probably wouldn't be in the team otherwise, because you'd be looking for more from the person playing that right back. So again, maybe it is harsh because you're talking about him. So like part of your gig is to clean up for another player because of the other player's sort of like his attributes. And that might be a bit unfair. But again, like I said, it is the only reason you are in the team. So when you don't do it, then it's like, well, why are we taking why are we losing from the other side if we're not even gaining from that?
Yeah.
But this is the point that it'll always be a sticking point with Hearts fans, with every fan, and someone like Derek McInnes, is that he'll always he'll make those cautious decisions. And that's not necessarily a criticism. It's half the reason Hearts are where they are. It's the reason why McInnes just so rarely has a bad season. He has in different seasons, but because of the thinking like that and the bit of risk averse, especially in a league like Scotland, I mean, there's a reason why you might have like Hibs with Gray, not the most exciting all the time, but you'll be in the top 6 most likely. Hearts McInnes, you'll be there. Aberdeen with Robertson, we might finally get that season next season where we all finish in the top 6 because we just have 3 managers who know how it all works in this country, and it's all pretty risk averse, and they just gather enough points. Do you understand what I mean by that? So that's just like, so that's always a sticking point. But Hearts,
that's why I've always maintained, is I think so. There's a part of me that feels like McInnes hasn't got the credit he deserves this season, and in terms of what I mean by that is like there's obviously been a lot of focus on Tony Bloom and Jamestown, and Tony Bloom was massive. Not just his investment, but what that investment mean and what his ambitions meant. It kind of just it galvanised the support. It brought the support together, and it gave the fan base an idea to get behind and move forward. Kind of just aligned, and just having his name represented to the club, I think it just gives a wee bit of kind of gravitas in that sphere. And then Jamestown has been a lot more just because of the recruitment, but I actually think this season McInnes has probably been more important than...
Could not agree more. I say this a lot. Yeah, long term. But I've said that a lot this season. It's the way he's improved the players that were already there.
Yeah.
And like and that like it's been quite quiet, and everyone's going with Jamestown, which Jamestown's had like what you'd expect, hits and misses out of the kinds of transfers they went for. And that's fine. But yeah, McInnes has probably quite liked it. It's probably taken pressure off him, and like he's not a guy he won't need. He's pretty emotionally stable guy, comfortable in his own skin. So I don't think he would have minded that. I think other managers might have actually heard him clapping back about that over time.
What concerned, like a couple of things concerned me last night when said there was like, can McInnes describe it as felt like the team were a bit leggy, and it was just had kind of like 2 weeks off, and they had a good week training. It might just been like that's how it looked and how it came across. And then it was just the way, like even at the first half, second best, but still created decent chances to his openings. It was the fact that when I went to the second half, Hearts had nearly 70% possession. I hate when Hearts have over 60% possession.
Yeah.
Brutal to watch. It doesn't matter who the manager is, it's rubbish to watch. But nearly 70% possession, and we could still be playing now and not scored. And McInnes talked about, it was just like trying to get as many forward players on the pitch. And we ended up with, it felt like we've ended up with Hal, Kip McCarr and Frankie Kemp playing up front. It just got a wee bit desperate. And there is, I'm not going to say that, I'm not going to be like too down in the fact that Hearts are still leading the league, but lost the last 3 away games. They're all kind of different.
St Mirren and Kilmarnock, there was similarities in those.
Yes.
And that's another thing that if I was a Hearts fan, that's what would be annoying.
Yeah,
you can have
absolutely.
one of them, but you can't do it again. Like you can't see the same thing again.
And that was kind of the message. It's like it basically that level of performance can't be accepted again between now and the end of the season. The good thing is that Hearts' record against the top 6 is really, really good. It's the best out of the top 6, and it's been really key for the position we're in. But last night or this weekend is just kind of showing that Celtic and Rangers will still lose, will still drop points because of the manner and nature of their performances. But Hearts have got no margin for error between now and the end of the season. It's like really can't afford to drop too many points. And we've still got away to Livy, who are going to be tricky, and then 3 tough away games after.
You're going to Easter Road, Parkhead. Kizarides, something I want like Kizarides. Just his form seems to have fallen off a cliff. And I don't watch him as much as you, so certainly in terms of output, I think would be a fair way of putting that.
Yes. So he has. There was a period in the season where like kind of Braga dropped, and he just looked at Kizarides and thought, if there's someone who's going to make us serious money, it's going to be Kizarides. But that's flipped on its head, and it's going to be
totally. That's exactly what I thought. Yeah.
It is. I feel like, and I asked him this himself when we did a press conference a few weeks ago, he misses Shankland, and I think a lot of them do. Because there was, it felt like even when teams were getting like kind of cottoned on to how he moved and he's cutting inside and what he wanted to do, he felt confident knocking the ball into Shankland and knowing he'll get it back and where to move. Kabori's not the same. Kabori is enigmatic is probably the best or like the nicest way to describe him. And then Braga's kind of just like a roving forward. I think Shankland has helped, but also he's just kind of just turned into like a typical inconsistent winger where but there's still I still understand why McInnes plays him, because there's like not take yesterday away.
Especially if you've not got Shankland, you start taking away your best chance creators. You can't just take them all off and expect.
He'll at least once a game, even if he's having an off day, he will usually create something or create a big opening.
Yeah, definitely. Right, anyway, sorry, Kilmarnock fans. I mean, you've just beat the league leaders at home, and you've been absolute. And
I was really impressed with them.
Yeah, so was I. I was really, considering they took a shoe-in the other week as well before they came along to do that. Brilliant, man.
That's so that was when I looked at their, just kind of just looking at them in the build up to the game and seeing who was missing, seeing what their 11 would likely be, and then seeing their 11 when it got announced. It was like this felt confident. Hearts would win, but then you seen them come out and you actually put the players in their specific positions. And Killie, I thought, was really good, really busy as a number 10. Curtis was so good, so direct, so positive, did his defensive shift. You mentioned Watson, really good. And then you had Shabola and Polworth, who were pretty good on the ball and then great off it. And I just thought it was a really good team performance where individuals mostly won their battles, and then collectively they were really, really good, where they posed a threat, got in front. Perhaps should have got a second goal, and then they defended really well while keeping a wee bit of a threat in the final third. It was
as vulnerable as I've seen Halkett look in a game for ages, especially in that first. And I don't mean that isn't meant as a criticism to Halkett. Oh, no. It's more about how good Kilmarnock done, because Halkett's looked imperious, like strolling through games. And it was the first time where I felt like every time. Like me, I'm coming in from an excited point of view. Like every time Kilmarnock went forward, they were getting shots off. They were creating chances. It wasn't just like Halkett would nudge someone over or win a header, which was like really, really common. People try to play down the side of him or whatever, but he's got much more fit and athletic and dealing with that.
Sorry, just on that, and that's. I think you make a good point about Halkett, because as the game went on, he got really agitated. I think, and just the way that was Killie were just they were just being like a nuisance, but in if you're a Kilmarnock fan, or like a nuisance in a really good way.
Yeah, and then like to touch on Curtis, I really like Curtis simply like as a young player, just how much responsibility he takes. It's such a massively like a brilliant trait to have at that age, and already moving for Rangers to Kilmarnock on loan, a team that is struggling. And the fact he goes looking for the ball, he works his socks off as well, going the other side. But he takes the ball, he dribbles, he hits a lot of shots. He's not just like an inconsistent winger. He's like a guy that become like almost already moving into being like the talisman, and a guy that you turn to, who they get to. He makes things out of nothing. He puts balls in the box. He gives them a threat, which they desperately needed with John Jules' injury, seeing him out to the end of the season. So really, really impressed with him. And Shabola, he's been in and out the team in the last few weeks to try to get up to fitness. Pair an hour here, coming off a bench, 10 minutes there. I was interested in McCann saying that basically we need you. The 90 minutes, we need you to step forward. The Kilmarnock midfield, I think it's safe to say, especially in a 4-4-2, the central bit doesn't have anywhere near enough athleticism in there to really play it. They don't have the guys to allow it. But Shabola made that happen, because he was everywhere. He's got the telescopic legs to make the tackle. But he was also something that McCann said, that was like, I need you to do more than just be good off the ball or just be tidy with the ball. I need you to like take responsibility and drive forward, follow your passes. And he done just that. It was an absolutely superb performance for him. And maybe Larsson, I'll let you maybe talk about him because I thought he was great, especially the first half. But maybe a shout out for Kilroos, even though Hearts didn't ask him any real questions at all, especially second half where Hearts were really bad. I thought really just didn't create anything. But Roos was really good at coming out for crosses and making budget and taking out, which is something we have all given him a kicking for in the past. So I think you have to say when he's done a good job.
Yeah, his timing, the way he read crosses was excellent. I thought he was everything. His decision making was really, really good. It's good save down low to Braga. I think he pushed it into a good area as well to get it away. But yeah, that was frustration was never tested them nearly enough. Defensively, I thought they were obviously conceded shipped five at Falkirk, but the starting four were really good. Like Brandon and Sean and Larsson were really aggressive and with the ball without it. We've got Lewis Mayo back, and it was just such a significant win for Killie. They were seen that Livy picked up a point within 6 points now,
and they play each other next week. Suddenly that could be an issue. Then if it goes 3 points, then it is just a problem. And Livingston are actually building some form.
Yeah. But with the win, it's almost flipped it from thinking if you lost, looking over the shoulder to Livy, but now with the win, they're looking ahead of them because they've level of points with St Mirren, who we're going to talk about, and then like Aberdeen are still thereabouts because of their situation. So it was a really, really good weekend for Kilmarnock, and they've definitely kicked on under Neil McCann.
It's funny, the goal sort of epitomised the whole day. From Hearts' point of view, the goal's horrendous to lose. But from Kilmarnock's point of view, it's a really, really tidy goal with smart running, a lovely cross for Killie, the fullback being emboldened, like Neil McCann talks about them being asking them more to, you're not a team that's just going to sit back and wait for things to happen. You want to be proactive. You want to be a team that accepts that you've got your own threats and go and do it. And the fullback done that. Larsson done that especially the first half. He was asking so many questions down there. And then him being willing and emboldened to go into the box to score a goal like that. Yeah, that goal pretty much summed up the day for both teams.
Let's move on to today's early kickoff, or Sunday's early kickoff, depending on when you're listening to this. St Mirren 0, Rangers 1. Tony will only give this game about 5 minutes, and that's 4 minutes more than it deserves because my goodness, I wanted to turn off if I wasn't. I would have turned off if I wasn't doing this podcast. So again, we'll split it into two. We've talked about Killie, so we'll just go to St Mirren. They're in a difficult position at the moment, just because, the performance, they were competitive, they were in it. The Stephen Robinson going, their squad is in a difficult position with injuries. Lost Jayden Richardson again today. Keanu Bacchus is out for the season. The interim manager, his name escapes me, sorry, will continue next week, I think. And he mentioned that they might have to go into the free agent market. It's March. It's the middle of March. And
Craig McLeish is the manager.
Craig McLeish, sorry. And you're having to go into the free agent market, and it kind of just shows him. Seeing it with the bench.
Not in March, Mum. You can't do that. Who's left?
It's like, who are you going to sign in March? You're going to be better. But you saw it summed up with Jayden Richardson got injured, and then they had to move Liam Donnelly into the centre of defence, and then Richard King into the right wing back position. And yes, it just looked really messy. I'm starting to worry about St Mirren. I've got to be honest,
because they've obviously got a squad that's so built in the other managers' makeup. There isn't a million managers who are quite so specific as Stephen Robinson either. So whoever they bring, I think you might need to bring a stopgap manager in who likes up and at them, that plays just because anyone tries to come in, if they try and make any sort of fundamental changes, I don't know if that squad would be built to do any of that. So they might just be tempted to go with McLeish, who obviously loves the 3-5-2 enough that he wouldn't even make a change when he only had Dick King to go out to right wing back. So maybe that could possibly be a bone of something that might end up being the smart thing to do. In terms of their lineup, I thought they went with Phillips playing up front, essentially just off I didn't really get that.
Nah.
Especially with the size of Rangers centre-halves who playing Giga and Fernandes, the fact that they've got quite a lot of recovery pace as well. I just think that you've just lost a play. He's just going to get lost up there. I don't see how that would work. I probably would have played Jake Young myself. Not that I'm saying he's brilliant or anything, just that he's got a bit more mobility. I just felt like they didn't have much movement up there at all. I mean, in Dundee couldn't get a kick in the first half. They couldn't get anyone near it. And that's a shit Rangers team.
Yeah.
A Rangers team that weren't playing well, but they just had total domination because St Mirren just like the makeup of the team, and like you're saying, the amount of players that they've got out, they weren't able to get up there at all. The positives for St Mirren, I'd probably say Gogic. It was like him splitting his head open, brought him back to his best. He would have felt hard, so he would have started doing it all again. I thought he was really, really good for most of the 90 minutes, and it was a good performance. And he was doing what you expect Gogic to do. He's been because obviously they've conceded shit tons of goals, and maybe we should just come to the goal now because how bad the goals that was.
Well, it's again, and I will go back to. I mean, it's there's a few issues in this in it, but Dick King looks terrible. Like he's so bad, and I mentioned this in the group chat when we were watching the game. But every time I've watched him for St Mirren, I've just like I've not seen it. I've not seen it. He looks. It's like he is. It's like he thinks the game is played on 0.5 speed, and then actually the game is actually being played at 2 speed. He doesn't seem to be on the same wavelength and intensity of the Scottish Premiership, because he came with a decent enough like pedigree, or there was a lot of kind of hope about him, but I'm not really. I've never looked at him and thought he's been really reliable. And then I know he's been played out of position, but that's just kind of just basic defending of being able to know where the threat is around you. Surely you know that Romans is a rampaging left back who's going to be around there, and it's just the fact that he doesn't react and he's just got no awareness that he's there.
He doesn't. He's just standing. He's literally standing around doing nothing. It looks like he's like daydreaming. He's not paying. It's like he's not taking part in the game.
His body position is so bad in terms of just like it's just sheer incompetence of not being able to just be aware or look around or have your body open to at least attack the ball. It was just so bad.
The Tanzer just does nothing.
Yeah.
Like, Tanzer just looks at Raskin, who's on his weak foot. So like if you press Raskin, he's probably not able to put in the best ball because it's on his weaker foot. So if you like make him feel a bit uncomfortable, but the fact that he didn't let it actually allowed him to play like a nice little delicate dinked ball that lands perfectly for Romans to score the goal. Quickly, like to go over Rangers.
Oh yeah, I was going to say as for Rangers, Jesus,
Naderi, Gassama, and like Chermiti up there. Like they're just. It's Naderi and Chermiti should be doing a lot better, because Chermiti, there's a player there, and he seems to be switching on and off when he feels like it, but or he likes it when the sort of the crowd's up and it's big. But Naderi me, and what's the attribute? He looks like all he is. I was thinking when I said this on our group chat, he looks like a St Mirren striker, where his main thing is being awkward, like look like awkward and maybe being hard to pick up. He doesn't seem to like. It looked like a footballer. There was a moment in the second half where the ball got played down the right channel, and he was running after it. But it was like if you run at full pace or full pelt, and you get there, and you might be able to cut across the St Mirren defender and go into a goal, and then it allows it was Devaney who came across and just allowed him to get the ball, and it was just. It just doesn't look like I'm sure I said this in the last week's podcast. You were saying it looks more like a basketball player, right? Yeah, but he's not even cool enough to be a basketball player, like a women's volleyball player or a netball. He should be playing netball. Honestly, he's I don't know. He swans about, like you're right. He just swans about, like he plays the game like he's fucking brilliant. Like obviously, like the players that they like to take, like you Berbatov. But they don't want to overexert themselves because they want to pick up pockets and they want to be ready because they've got all the skill and it'd be doing that. And he's like jogging about with the wee thumbs out, doing the cool run, even though he's fucking massive. Doesn't work. And you're just like, and that header at the back post, like put
so
something
weak
on it. Please,
Yeah.
like, it's, as you're saying, it's like everything. It's like it's almost like he's too cool to try too hard or run too fast or make it. Because if I run too fast and I don't get there, that's embarrassing. It's like that type of mindset.
I'm glad you brought Chermi up, because like Chermi's performance was frustrating because like you said, there's something, there's more in there, and he was like his attempt when he should have made it 2-0.
Yeah.
Pathetic, but at least like he could have just got the ball turned and stuck one in the top corner. He's got that quality. Not seen anything from Nadiri to suggest that, so you can't even get frustrated with Nadiri just because there's nothing to be kind of frustrated about, because you've not seen a high point yet. Gassama, I think there's a big like he looks better on the left. I think he's stronger on the left. Out on the right, he's ineffectual. He still should be doing better than what he offered on Sunday. And then you're just like, even when they turn to the bench, Skov Olsen, it's like you need to see more of Skov Olsen, more from him. Asgard, I look at Asgard and I think you've got the physicals to be a really good player, like just to be a dominant player, and then there's not enough. I think the main positive for Rangers, aside from like always like watching Mikey Moore, the main positive for Rangers was that they won the game. They managed to get over the line. They've chucked points recently. They looked like it was good. It was a nervy end for them, but I suppose the Hearts have been credited for it. Celtic have been credited for it. They found a way to win to keep tabs with Hearts and Celtic, but they need to improve big time.
The worst thing I can say for them is that I always still feel like they need to play Tavernier simply because of quality. Even though I don't think Tavernier's anywhere near as quick as he used to be, I don't think he can get beyond into the byline as much. But because they lack so much quality, I always feel like they need Tavernier because he can still hit a shot, he can take a good set piece, and he can put in a good cross. And I feel like, the team lacks so much that you can't really afford to not. You have those attributes on the park, even though I think that Tavernier's went past it to be the player he was. Other positive for them is that Giga and Fernandez look like a decent partnership. And Giga, like since they've moved away from like John Souttar, who was having a pretty bad time of it, and the timing for John Souttar to have a pretty bad time of it when the World Cup is right there and you're going for a title, not great, brother. That's not what you want to be doing.
No wonder Fernandez has got a Scottish grandmother. We'll move on to the penultimate game of the weekend. The penultimate game that we're covering, and that was Stephen Robinson's first game for Aberdeen. I've just skipped over the fact that the Danny Rose hair issue, or he's the wee hair band. But who are we to judge regarding hair? I might actually ask how he's done it, because it looks. I'll take it fair. Anyway, Aberdeen's first game under the management of Stephen Robinson. They drew 1-1 at home to Falkirk. Watched the first, just over the first half of this before heading through to Rugby Park on Saturday, and Aberdeen were very Stephen Robinson-y in that it was a back three. It wasn't a back three. It was a back five. It was 5-3-2. And they were pretty direct and hard running and pressing. I think Stephen Robinson knows there's a lot of work to do, but I think he knows that he just goes in and he's just got to make them a really tough collective, a tough unit to beat, rather than almost like just get them in I think he spoke about it afterwards, actually, when he was speaking to the BBC, that he wanted to get them in a good shape. Like, everyone knows their role. That's the most important thing. Everyone knows their role within a shape, and then once they're comfortable in that, then it'll allow the better players, Geiger, Stuart Armstrong, Cameron, if he plays, to feel more at free to express themselves and be more of an attacking threat.
I think the one thing that would please me if I was an Aberdeen fan is he's been there for no time at all. And like you say, there was already like an imprint of him. Like he's been there for like a day, and there was already an imprint of him in the first performance. They did look more stable. But as I said, I didn't see it. I didn't watch the 90 minutes this one. I think I got 4 of the games this week, but not this one. And but they were very hard working, which is the minimum you would expect but they were much more stable and had a much better structure. Especially, I mean, he could have much more structure than they had in the Scottish Cup last week. I mean, that was like abysmal.
Yeah.
But he's able to do that. Because I'm torn on this. And like short term, I think if Stephen Robinson goes out next season and he has the mass overturn in players, which he will, because the squad could be further away than what he would want as a manager. But still, there's that bit like, is he able to give him a kick of the arse up enough to get I suppose you only need a win, probably. I need a win to get away with it. Kicking the arse enough to get the reaction. Because the other side of it is, see if they don't get that win quickly, he's going to get pissed off. He's got a bunch of players that who will not be in his image. And they might get, a lot of them will be getting screamed at from a pretty angry Irish guy. So like, there's a way that I could see, there's a world where this goes really badly in the short term.
Yes.
And that's where I can see the side of him giving everyone a kick up the arse, that's enough to get you there. But I could also see if that kick in the arse doesn't work quickly enough, that it could go so badly, it could just explode in everyone's face.
And this goes back to, I think Stephen Robinson's a good appointment for Aberdeen. I think he's a really solid appointment for Aberdeen. The issue is, appoint him, just go back and appoint him 3 months ago when he sacked. And it was just, it's the journey they've gone on to appoint him, which I think pissed Aberdeen fans off quite understandably, more than the actual appointment of Stephen Robinson. And like people were talking about his style and his time as like his St Mirren or like second bottom of the league or third bottom. It's like that doesn't matter. Like look at his body of work. Body of work at St Mirren compared to rather than just looking at the last few months. And then like style was like Aberdeen have gone from I've lost count there. Glass, Goodwin, Robson, Killie. Have I missed anyone in that? And they basically moved away from McInnes and they've tried basically every different little manager, like every bit of like different kind of style or identity of manager, and they've landed back up at someone who's relatively similar to McInnes. To McInnes, and I do think he'll come in, and I completely agree with you. It could go it could go really bad in the short term. But if you've pointed them a couple of months ago, then Aberdeen wouldn't be in this. They'd be possibly pushing to potentially trying to get into the top 6, rather than having a panic and think this season is. Rather than the season being over, we actually have to look over our shoulder and we need someone to come in and actually get us over the line.
Don't sack a manager a day after the transfer window closes. It just tells you like the incompetence levels of
sack
that.
him 2 weeks before it closes.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I'll be interested to see. He went with Nisbet and Lazatic, and Nisbet got the goal. From what I heard, like Aberdeen, as you said, they were pretty attritional. And yes. But Nisbet got the goal from that massive Scott Bain error again. Errors have started to creep into Bain's game. Like he's made maybe 2 or 3 in the last recent weeks after being like pretty imperious, and again bad timing to start doing that with what's coming up round the corner. But I wouldn't be surprised if, despite the fact that Nisbet's probably your best bet and most proven, if it ends up being Lazatic and Olasanya that end up being his front 2, because Lazatic is pretty good with his back to goal. He's big and he's physical.
Which wasn't great.
But Robinson will like you. Want one of his strikers being able to do that. And then Olasanya is a player he knows who'll also run himself into the ground and be a pest. So I wouldn't be surprised if that morphs into the front 2 that he ends up using.
I think I don't think they like Lobben and Frame. I don't think they're the perfect wing backs for him either. I'm not sure if they're the powerful athletes that he tends to at least have one of them as his wing backs. The one player I've kind of spoke about him, and I've really enjoyed this player over the last I don't know, going back to time at Inverness, then he's Aberdeen, centre mid or left back. He's been superb, but I think Graham Shinnie is. The time is up as an Aberdeen Scottish.
I said Tavernier was past it for the player he was. Graham Shinnie. He's a hard tackler, but you have to be able to get the other players to tackle him.
He's someone I was like, it's looking difficult at the moment. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how how Robin scores with Aberdeen. Just before we quickly move on to Falkirk in the last game, what was your initial thoughts of Robinson being appointed?
Well, I say that I was like obviously it looks terrible on Lutz. So it just feels like it just feels like they've given him 3 months to find a manager. He hasn't found them, so Burrows has had to message his mate.
I'll do this. I'll do this, mate.
Like Burrows has been saying every week. Remember, I've got Robinson's number. I could just call him. I can just do that.
Nah, I want to get this guy from the MLS over.
Yeah. I've got honestly. Did you not see what Derek Ray said? He says I can talk to anyone, anywhere on the planet. I've got contact everywhere, and I've got irons in the fire. I'm just imagining how these meetings were going. The team's meeting was going on a Monday morning when they were touching base on the search, and they've obviously eventually went for Robinson. Like I said, it's if at all it'll happen. If him stick with Gray, Hearts stick with McInnes, which I don't know. There is a world, I think, where Hibs and Hearts both change managers going into next season. I think it's very possible, regardless of how the season finishes. But if there is a season like Robinson, McInnes and Gray, where we might finally get this one season where the top 5 clubs are just the 5 biggest clubs. It's never happened. It never seems to happen. One, maybe 2, maybe 3 of them are absolutely shit every season. But we might, just because just the sheer bloody mindedness of guys who won't take too many risks, and they'll just garner enough points over the season. It'll never happen.
Those games between those games between the 3 of them just going to be oof. We will. Oh, Falkirk. Sorry,
but so I think. But I'm worried that. I mean Henderson, amazing again. Love him. Like, he just had an unbelievable season at Falkirk. I think from everything I was reading, he was their best player. It was one of the way their fans seem to be thinking is that this has been one of their worst performances in recent weeks. But they've still managed to get a point at Pittodrie and Barney Stewart. What can you say? It's a brilliant ball in, and it's a class header, and he just won't stop doing it.
Yeah, so that's what I wasn't sure if there was much to say, like we on Falkirk, in terms of, just because there's off the weekend, there's not much narrative around Falkirk. They've got they're almost there in terms of the top 6. Great job, and then getting the Scottish Cup semi-final against Dunfermline coming up as well. Yeah, they weren't at their best, but you mentioned Barney Stewart, wonderful header. You know what I really liked about it is that he just had it wasn't like a push, but it was just put his arm on Malloy, and it was just like I'll just give you a wee nudge, and it was like an experienced striker at the back post. He's like, he knew what to do with the centre back, and his header was superb. And what I would say is that from the hour or so I watched, Falkirk were well worthy of their point. They certainly didn't deserve to get beat across the game. That's for sure.
Barney Stewart, who was playing for a university, does that mean he goes to university? Is that what? Do you have to go to the university to play for the university? How does that work?
I think so. I think you need to be connected to the university in some way. I don't know.
Well, you'd think a Harriet Watt student would know what revelation meant. And in his post-match interview, when the interviewer went like that, John McGunn says you've been a revelation. He went, well, it sounds good, but I don't know what revelation means.
He obviously wasn't an English student, so.
But he's talking of someone making a late run for it, the timing's perfect for Barney Stewart. But unfortunately, I don't see Clark. If I don't think Clark will bother with Craig Halkett because he's played at this level his whole career and is sort of having his best season and going out to 30, I struggle to see him taking a guy who's scored 8 goals and had a good time in the top flight just now. But stranger things have happened.
And then you got Ollie McBurney as well, who's doing really well in the Championship.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, Tony, we'll finish up on the game at Easter Road. Hibs 0, Livingston 0. Do we need to speak about too much about this? I'll hand over to you, say what you want, and then there's a couple of things I would like to say.
It was I think it was a really boring game. The pace that it was played.
I'm surprised you went. Really surprised you went. It was one of those. I was giving Craig a lift along to pick Craig up to go along to Kilmarnock, and I was just like, if Hearts were in the situation Hibs were, I would not be at Tynecastle Park on a Saturday to be watching against Livingston.
It was funny though, because we sold, like, I think there was over 18,000. So
that was a big crowd.
Like, obviously the money there was so many season ticket holders, which I don't know about. It obviously doesn't happen at Hearts because obviously the games are so massive. I'm as guilty as any of them. I said there's 4 of us that go, and we've been to 2 games as a 4 this season. Like, it's all season tickets. So, like, loads of people don't go. I notice it all the time because I know that the attendances are based on tickets sold rather than people that are in the stadium. And Hibs sold like loads in the South Stand. I was surprised to see for a game like that. But I suppose for a lot of people, Hibs have only lost like twice at home in over a year. And that was to Rangers and Celtic. So I suppose for young people or people that aren't quite as invested in narrative as story-faced as some of our older fans, they probably just enjoy going and never seeing a team lose, and I can see why with that. And obviously, great, we've had some amazing games over the last year. But this one, things that I thought we got wrong, I'll go through quickly. We had Barlaser playing, and for some reason, when we've played all the teams that are a bit weaker and stand off us, Barlaser's been amazing, dropping in and taking the ball off the centre halves and getting Hibs playing because he plays forward with quality. It felt like Hibs wanted him to play further forward because obviously Livingston were going to play so deep for the 90 minutes that they wanted to have him further forward to maybe make an impact, which meant the centre halves were coming forward to the ball, but without the same level of quality as Barlaser would. So I thought that was an error in there with that way. They started with Shuto and Elding up front. Elding had a decent first half. He really struggled in the second half. Hibs were abysmal second half, especially. First half, they got the ball to Nicky Cadden. He had 3 or 4 really good crosses, which could have ended up goals. Obviously, they had the really good corner routine that they ended up with McGrath hitting the bar. But it was just so slow, and the ball goes side. I think, from what I read, that Hibs, 43% of their passes were between their back 3.
Oh.
And Gray noticed that, in fairness to him. You know, he doesn't love changing the shape, but he did change the shape, but it didn't work at all. It actually made Hibs worse. Nicky Caddy went in at left back. They sort of brought, I'm trying to remember who they brought on.
You just lose if Nicky Caddy goes to left back. He's either, I think he's either left winger or left wing back.
I think the idea is that they wanted him to basically just another playing left wing from left back, but it didn't really work out that way, and it took away one of our main threats that we'd had going through the game. And so we brought Scarlett and Boyle on and took Iredale off and took Shuto off, and Shuto didn't have a great game. He had one ball played over top to him.
I'm shocked.
But off the bench, incredible. Does absolutely everything.
Some of those that seem like Gassama. Get it off the bench. Just keep him on the bench.
Just keep on the bench. So yeah, really, really boring. Really poor. Hibs still created enough chances to win. Obviously, McGrath,
Josh Campbell.
Yeah, I mean that. Well, his cameo off the bench. I'm a guy. You know, I'm a bit of a Josh Campbell defender, but oh wow, he was fucking honking.
Even in the highlights, I could tell he had a bad game.
He gave the ball away every time he got it. Couldn't once just running, and he just ran into them, and it was like it just gave the ball every time, and then ballooned the shot over the bar when it was an open goal from there. So I like just don't let the stats fool you, because Hibs still could have won again, but it would be in spite of their style and their performance. Just because, and I've said numerous times, just because Hibs have some good players, and they've got weapons in the team. I could not believe I never got off the bench. In a game like that, when they're playing so deep, you need someone to dribble. You need someone to play a bit off the cuff. But because he came back in the team, scored a few goals, looked like he was back in Gray's good books. But then in the derby, when the poor pass back from the throw-in in the last second of the game that went out, and then the whistle went and stopped him from being able to get the ball in the box. And now he's just not. That's him back. I would love to be a player on the ball in Gray and Youad's relationship, because it goes like this. And like there's always, you either see him every week or you don't see him for months on end. It's Matt, but this game was crying out for someone that would do that. In terms of Livingston,
just before you move on to Livingston, mate, I just wanted to say the penalty, how the referee can give that as I honestly could not believe it when I watched the highlights. I was like, what are you doing, Mr. Lloyd Wilson?
Even like people around me, Chris and a few other people were like, he's got the ball, Matt. We were walking down the stairs because I was like, you know, these stands one tier. I always try and, like, even if I'm not leaving, get to one of the lower rows so I could get out, because otherwise you're in there. It can honestly take about 20 minutes to get out. So we were like, so we went down and we were walking, so I wasn't even properly paying attention. And it happened. And my assumption was, like, obviously they're like, he got the ball, surely. And I was like, well, he must have went in through the back of him, you know, like directly through the back of him and got the ball like that. But then when you see it back, you're like, it's like the most normal tackle that you see. Every game just goes in the side and toe pokes the ball out for a corner. So it was a bad decision. The
official, the standard of officiating. I've, like, watching the game on the Saturday again, like the Aberdeen, I think it was Calvin Scott, Aberdeen Falkirk game. Just wee things about, like, fouls, decisions where you're just like, what have you seen? And it's so frustrating. It's like they're just, it's just so frustrating.
Over every in games, the threshold for fouls changes as the game pulsates on.
I hate to sound like a proper football man or just old man yells at cloud, but it's like referees, the referees in Scottish Premiership, so many of them don't actually understand, like, football and, like, nuances within football and what happens when in certain situations, like the Martin Boyle one, where the ball clearly goes in a different direction because the Mo Sillas.
Why would Boyle want to take the ball out that way? When he's hitting it on goal. Yeah,
it's painful. It's painful. So what about, we've just finished, anything note on Livingston? They're in a difficult position, a real difficult position.
He made a lot of changes, which I was surprised with at the start of the game. This is their 4th draw in a row, so he stopped them losing. But you can't say he's not. But he went with May. I imagine he went for May over Muirhead for the work rate, would be my guess, because May does, in his older years, a lot of his, unfortunately for TVB, a lot of his best work is going the other way from goal. I was very surprised to see Smith on the bench, and especially when they were playing a front two. I thought he's worked really well with Muirhead in recent weeks, when he's been given a bit more of a free role to play off and to move between the wings and offer something. But I suppose it's just, he's playing at Easter Road and he just fully expected to be under the cosh. So he went with Noomplay, who he was obviously thinking about it because he's got a really good touch and he could dribble and maybe make something out of nothing, was maybe the idea behind that, even though I don't think Noomplay was great, even though he did nearly score. He curled one in. And honestly, on the highlights, Salinger gets the ball away. But honestly, from where I was sitting behind them, they are an inch away from getting that rebound at the end of the first half and put it in there. And now Livingston would have been really happy with the second half. As I said, they managed to, Muirhead came on, he nearly scored when he curled it in. They had a few other decent sort of opportunities and they were able to hold Hibs at hand length. Kabongolo, who's had a really good time of it since Marvin Bartley became manager, he was really well positioned so many times, reading situations to block them and never looking like he was too much in danger. I thought Macaulay Tate was poor. Expected better from him. He was struggling to take the ball because, especially the first half, Livy just they didn't have a passage of play until they had the shot at the start where Salinger makes a meal of it that you see at the highlights. That's really early in the game. And then the next time they do anything is the end of the first half when Newbley hits the shot that I mentioned earlier. Outside of that, they didn't even have passages of play. They just didn't do anything. They just give you it back. And that's what I felt. We were just, we're going to get their goal. We're going to get the goal eventually, simply. And then the second half was complete. The Hibs started it really poorly. Then the Block 7 started singing East Stand Geezer song. And that's when you know things are going shit, when there's any attempt at patter between stands. Stop! And they done it for about 10 minutes. Mate, stop. Put that megaphone down. It was funny for a second. You're taking it too far. We're all bored. Everyone's fucking miserable. And that was the thing. The fans were, and I'm as guilty as anyone. Fans' performance linked very much in time with the team's performance. Nobody can be arsed. This isn't a big game. And like, I'll tell you one thing, Chris Finn had one headphone in the second half, listened to the Celtic game.
Of course he did. Fist bumping his way through the second half.
Yeah. The minute he put in, they got the penalty. Like, fucking great, this is perfect. So that's it. That's what it got into. So, fair play to Livy. They've stopped their first clean sheet in 6 months, but 30 games without a win in all competitions is a new record. So that's not great, is it?
No, it's not. They really, if they want to get with the relegation spot, they really need to start winning.
This is something
games.
we did say. Was that is there going to be a point where they actually come out and actually attack us? Because surely they do. You're not just. This looks very much like you're accepting your fate. Why are you not trying to stop us? But hey, that's an hour and 25 minutes, Joel, and we said we were going to do an hour. So
yes, I know. That's what happens. That's what happens. Livingston are away to Kilmarnock next week, and then they after the international break, they are home to Heart of Midlothian Football Club. I'm a wee bit scared about that one. 30. It's like, you've 31 games without a win. You need to win.
Yeah, you can't help it. Just always think it's going to reek. You can't help it. You can't help it.
Oh well. Right, we'll leave it there, Tony. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, everyone, for listening. Be sure to check out NordVPN. I think it's nordvpn.com/terracepod for all your NordVPN wares, likes, needs, yeah.
Check out NordVPN for all your NordVPN needs. Cool.
Yeah, it's long. I'm tired. We'll move on.
Check out Dell laptops for all your Dell laptop needs. Just stick anything.
Right, let's get it. Everyone just stick any. See ya.